He is Clark McClelland. He is a scientist, and we're going to tell you a lot more about Clark in just a moment. Let me go back a few days when the alleged president, the imposter-in-chief, the chief teleprompter reader and chain smoker, illegal alien, Barry Soetoro, called for sending people to Mars and back in his lifetime. Well, had there been any real leadership, we probably would have done this already years ago. I'm not sure on that, but I know damn well that we don't have to wait another 30 or 40 years. Now, this drew not enough outrage from the highest level of America's space program, but it did draw some. And Neil Armstrong was certainly one of them, and Clark McClelland was another. Are you there, Clark?
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Let me read to our listeners what you had to say about Obama's really, he didn't think this up, but his handlers, the controllers, what they had him say,
right,
and the policy that he pronounced. Former NASA Kennedy Space Center scientist and American patriot hero, Clark McClelland, who fears no man, by the way, and those are my own words, this is a brave American, said, and I quote, "Our national manned space program has been destroyed. Obama has made the national pride of all we have accomplished since our initial satellite, Explorer 1 in 1958, a thing of the past. It is treason." I must wonder if your readers understand Obama administration's decisions has delivered a $6 billion NASA budget allowance for robotic and international missions into space by the U.S. Why international? Yes, U.S. tax dollars will continue to finance foreign international missions, have Russian cosmonauts and those of India, Japan, etc., flown to that's ours, folks, International Space Station, otherwise known as the ISS. Yes, your ISS, that is about 97 paid for by the U.S., who constructed and designed the whole thing. Yet few NASA astronauts will be out there in the future. This president is destroying our world-leading 50-plus years of space exploration during his very short time in the White House. It is a major federal crime. How many recognize it as such? He has sided with Russia and China to bring down the U.S. and our global lead in space science, industry, education, and so forth. Our national security is in deep jeopardy. Wise up, America. So said Clark McClelland. Has the anger subsided at all, Clark, or is it getting worse within you, my friend? You've served our country so long.
People have they've talked to me about it and said, you shouldn't say that about the president. And I said, listen, I don't care if it's the president, all the Senate, the Congress, and whoever else. If they're doing that to the people I worked with, love dearly, their families, their homes are being lost now. I said, am I supposed to sit back and say not a damn word about it while everybody else thinks I'm a great guy? I said, I will never do that. My family started here on board the Mayflower, and I will be a patriot for this nation to the day I die.
Why, Clark, weren't there more people of your stature and integrity standing up from within and without the space program, yelling and shouting this down as betrayal and treason, which it is?
They were at the gates of the Space Center with signs. They were at the gates with signs cutting down the Obama decision, et cetera, et cetera.
Before he spoke, right before he spoke. Yeah,
right before he spoke. And, of course, after he spoke, they were still at the gate.
Sure.
He spoke. There were about 50 people in the audience. They were political hacks. That's all they were. There wasn't anyone that I know of that have worked on sending the shuttle into orbit or men to the moon during the Apollo or Gemini, Mercury, etc. In that audience. My God, the very people he's destroying, he denied access to question him.
Yeah. Disgusting. Thoroughly disgusting.
It's treason.
Yeah. Well, it's not being an American at the very least.
No.
This is
not American at all.
Well, our country is no longer in our own hands. We know that.
No, it's not. Mm-mm.
You have experienced many things, and you have come forward recently with some shocking information, not to me, but to many others. And we'll get into that in a little bit about visitors and so forth. But I want to go back to 1959. Dr. von Braun
Dr. von Braun, Werner von Braun,
told a reporter for the News Europa agents.
Well, it was a News Europa newspaper, I believe, back in '59, and really I know very little about what paper it was, but it was someplace in Europe. Yes.
And he said, and I'll quote here, this is Dr. Werner von Braun, "We feel ourselves faced by powers which are far stronger than we hitherto assumed. More I cannot say at present. We are now engaged in entering into a closer contact with these powers, and in 6 to 9 months' time it may be possible to speak with more precision on the matter." End quote. He knew.
Oh, he absolutely knew. That was the '59. Later, of course, I worked through the late '50s and the '60s with him up to '70 or so, and then he came forth, and we were out talking right before the launch of one of the Apollo missions, the first one to the moon, in fact, with Neil Armstrong. And I asked Dr. von Braun if he actually said that. He repeated his exact disclosure to me at KSC of what you read earlier.
Wow.
And then I wanted to ask him about what star race they were. NASA rushed officials over to me, took him away from me, and I wasn't able to get any verification on that.
Wow.
Yeah, we've got a lot of people in our government and these agencies that are not really pro-American like you and I.
Right. Is the penalty for spilling the beans the ultimate penalty? Are these people really under the threat? Not directly. It doesn't have to be mentioned necessarily. But if they expose the reality of our knowledge of and perhaps negotiations and cooperation with extraterrestrials, they'll be killed.
Well, either killed or they're going to lose
everything they have. Their children.
They'll be in poverty like I am right now.
Right.
They destroyed my, hopefully, retirement. I'm in poverty now. I live on Social Security, and that's not enough to live on.
This is outrageous.
Oh, it's totally outrageous. But few people seem to have any care. I'll tell you the truth, Jeff. Our nation has become a brain-dead, dumbed-down bunch of sheep.
Yeah.
And unless they wise up real quick, and I think maybe we've come to a point where we probably may not be able to save the country any longer.
I'm afraid you may be right.
We have no industry. We send our jobs overseas. We bring people overseas to here to take our jobs. And yet these brain-dead people I see every day around here, I love my nation, my people, but if they're brain-dead, they have to be told that.
Right. Well, it's the old story of how do you awaken something that's not there?
Well, I'm one person, you're another. There are not too many of us. We're trying. And I'm tired. I'm old. I'm getting tired. I'd like to ask if the audience hearing us right now could please open my www.stargate-chronicles.com website. I finally disclosed my first book chapter on that.
Really?
No one will publish my books.
Well, we'll do it in an e-book format at some point at rense.com for you if we can, whatever I can do to help. I remember when Clark first talked to me about this book, and it's an easy 10 years ago, and no one will touch it for rather obvious reasons. If you click on Clark's name at rense.com, you'll go right to his website. And again, it's stargate-chronicles.com.